What's up? We are back, geeks. And today, a lot of you had questions about a little jig we had in our last video. So I'm going to show you a little more about it. All right, geeks, so let's talk about this fabulous little jig right here. And I'm going to tell you, this jig is possibly going to change the game for you. Now, you've seen a couple of years back, I talked about the Trashmaster jig, which was a weedless jig, had a screw lock. Well, that is a great jig. In my opinion, that jig is designed exactly for what it says it's designed for: trash, flipping, pitching into the trash. You're not going to get hung up nearly as much. Now, welcome a kind of a finesse style jig that's going to do the same thing, but it's designed for a very much different application. And that is the Salvation jig from Omega Custom Lures. This is kind of like a stand-up shaky head with a jig skirt on it. So it may be more diverse than any jig you'll use, and you don't get snagged with it either. Let's talk about it a little bit more. All right, so before we dig too far into that jig, I do want to talk to you a little bit. First off, I know you can hear my voice, and I know most of you know that I didn't put out a lot of videos during probably the last 2 weeks, the holiday season, Christmas, New Year's. And one of the biggest reasons is I've been sick, as you can tell. So I haven't felt real good, haven't been able to get out. The flu hit me pretty hard, and I kind of got iffy lungs. So I got sick, but I do want to say thanks to you all. Hey guys, we're going to start something a little different this year. I always say hashtag 100% Watch Squad. Thank you guys. That's the best way to support the channel, is to watch it. But if you'll look just under the video, there's a thanks down there. This is going to be kind of your opportunity to sponsor BassGeek. Out of the 8 to 16 videos, if we do a full month, if you see one, and you can, again, you don't have to, just hit that thanks button, donate $1, donate $2. That way, this is a geek channel for geeks by geeks. That's what I like. That's what I want to be. That's what I always want to make sure that you guys know and trust what I'm doing and what I'm talking about and what I'm saying. And that's one way to do it. All that being said, let's jump down here and let's talk about this jig. So let's just take a look at this jig. First off, it has got a great hook on it. Look at that big beefy hook. And look at this. Now we've got the screw lock in there. We've got a flat head, got the mean red eyes, and that bad boy will literally stand up just like that. Great little skirt. They come in some different colors. Now this is, I believe, the only size it comes in is 1/2 ounce, but this is still a great little finesse jig. And what's awesome about it is that this little screw keeper is very simple. Get the skirt out of the way, and you just put it right in the center and start screwing it up on there. I like to get it good and snug. Get it good and straight. And then you just lay the hook on the side of it, and you kind of see where it's going in and where it needs to come out. So you come on back here. Ooh, try not to stab yourself just like I did. And then you make that perfectly straight. Now guys, you can use, like the Elastec stuff, the floating stuff. Now, as well as I do, the Elastec stuff's a little harder to get up on a screw lock, but it can be done. But now look at that. Perfectly weedless. Look, I'm not even exposed. Generally what I like to do though, that hook, you can feel it just right there, just the tip coming through. So now you're extremely weedless. And guys, the ideals for trailers for this is just incredible. Now this is my little go-to here. This is, I think, the 3-inch, the smaller version of a rodent, because, well, the water temperature is 42 degrees today. So I want something that's really going to stand up and not have a lot of flap. but those little craws and that little skirt in the water will just barely sit there and move with whatever current is around them. Another great thing about this when it comes to trailer is that basically it's a big stand-up shaky head. So you can put worms on it. This jig can be your shaky head, it can be your jig. It can literally do whatever you want it to do. Look at that. You want to talk about subtle. You put some sort of straight tail worm on this. Put some sort of yum dinger. Put something on it that's really ultra finessey. And you are going to show them something that I bet they don't see a lot of. So let's talk about rod, reel, and line setup. Now check this out. This is a TFO Tactical Elite Bass, guys. This is an incredible rod right here. This is my new, for 2023, this is my new jig rod. It's got the stainless steel eyes. This thing is a heavy, 7'3" heavy, fast action. So the great thing about this is a 7'3" is what I like to use to skip with, so I can skip this real well, and it's going to be able to handle pretty much any jig I put on it. Now I've got this coupled with, again, my Helios Akuma, which is no longer being made. So what I will do is put a comparable reel, but that is really a good reel. I hated to see it go. But I'll put a comparable reel down there for you, one that I would use for this application if it wasn't. Now, of course, as always, we've got K9 Pro 100, which is the 100% fluorocarbon, okay? And that is going to be 15-pound test right there, okay? All right, let's go fish this thing. All right, so for me, living in the mountains that I do, this is a great spot. We've got a creek channel that runs around, and we've got a road bed that comes down through here. It runs right up against this point. This point drops off real steep, and then the creek channel takes off down that way and hits that bluff. But this is a great place to start. You've got rock and mud so that those crawfish can burrow up in that. You got wood, which is going to hold a little bit of heat, and you got some laydowns so that the bass can hide and ambush. So this is one of the very first places that I'm going to start, especially when we've got a day like today. You know, you can see the cloud cover, sun's trying to peek through, but we've got the cloud cover and we've got 43-degree water temp. Ultra clear. We're at about 5 to 6 feet right now. All right, so now let's talk about how we're going to fish this. So one of the first things, I'm probably going to start right back here at this group of trees, come right around and probably end at about that one right there. But definitely going to throw. Now, if you guys haven't heard me talk about this, I talk about kind of where I start fishing in ultra clear water with a jig, which is to me less natural than a plastic. I'm going to start right at the visibility line, and I'm going to fish that 5 to 10 foot underneath that. So if we're seeing 5, 6 feet, let's just say 5 feet, I'm going to fish from that 5 to about 15 is where I'm going to start with. And one of the things about today is that this is the last day. We've got a front moving in tonight, but the last day of a stable 60-degree warm up after we had a really, really cold front come through. And again, I'm not going to throw it right up on the bank, and I'm not going to make big hops with it because the water temps are cold. But the great thing about this jig is it's standing straight up, and it's getting down between these rocks, but I'm not moving my rod tip a lot at all. I'm reeling down to about a 9 o'clock, so straight out. I'm reeling up the slack, or I'm feeling up the slack, and I can feel it popping through those rocks. And otherwise, in this water temp, I'm just going to drag it. Now, the great thing about this is that I can take this jig and throw it right up in these trees because it's pretty much weedless. but don't get right up in there. Work the outside edge, especially on a cloudy day. On a cloudy day, these bass are gonna hover, they're gonna suspend around the outside of these trees a lot. Docks, whatever you wanna throw at. Now, let's talk a little bit about boat positioning, especially when we start talking about the second place I like to fish this jig, and that's bluffs. Now, bluffs, I'm gonna fish a little bit different. You know, like I told you earlier, that I like to start right at wherever that 5 feet is gonna be and work my way down. Now, I'm gonna 45 degree those banks until I know where those bass are. Once I know where those bass are, now it's a little bit different. That means what I can do at that point is I can set the boat in that depth, cast straight out, and keep it in that depth where I know those bass are biting. So even down a bluff wall, I'm going to kind of 45 degree it, maybe not quite 45 degree, but I'm gonna fish it the same way. You know, we're hoping that there's shelves down through here. So what we're gonna do, again, we're gonna set that rod tip at 90 degrees, and we're just gonna basically drag it, let it fall down to that next shelf. We're gonna drag it a little bit and hope that it falls down to that next shelf. You really gotta be a line watcher right here, because as it falls, if they can get up underneath there, they can and will come out and bite it on the fall. Sometimes you're gonna feel that, sometimes you won't. And the reason why we go ahead and we put our rod tip at 90 degrees is because, and we don't go past, let's say 10, 30, 11 degrees tops, because you have no way that you can set the hook from 11 to 12 or higher. So you want to go from 9 to 10, 10, 30 tops, and that's where you want your rod tip to be, so you still got torque to lean in on those bass when they bite. So you bank anglers, don't think that this is a bait that's not for you. This is a bait that if you bank anglers want to get into throwing a jig, this is 100% your jig to throw. It's finessey, it's compact, it's got a great hook. That's why I like using maybe a little stiffer rod with it to drive that hook home. You're going to be able to drag it. It's going to come over and through cover great, because you're basically Texas rigging it. So go check out the Omega Custom Lures Salvation Jig. You've already seen me catch one on it. I plan on catching maybe one or two more down this bank right here. But questions, comments in the comment section below. Guys, remember, you can pick up all this gear with the links in the description. It does help the channel. But remember, the best way to help the channel, hashtag 100% watch squad. That just means watch from start to finish. Watch every video. You guys have made this channel, you made 2022 the best year out of the 6 years that BassGeek has been on YouTube. And I'm hoping 2023 is going to be even better. Now we start to get some sun coming out. All that being said, like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you guys ring that bell so you get the notifications. So you watch these videos, you know when they come out. If you don't ring that bell, you don't get the notifications. Hey, be a BassGeek sponsor. Hit that like button or that thanks button if you really liked it. And as always, you guys, man, 2022 rocked. And it was all because you guys rocked.